Rail transportation, the driving force of American business. Huge corporations and small companies alike depend on railroads for shipments of raw material and other cargo essential to their operation. Burlington Northern's Train 110 is the kind of merchandise train which keeps the wheels of industry turning 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Train 110 runs from Pasco to Chicago. The Chicago connection is vital to Burlington Northern. There, Conrail picks up cars destined for Eastern customers the BN can't directly serve. Our West Coast shippers depend on trains like 110 to help them reach markets across the country. Moving one carload of freight for even one customer is amazingly complex, and yet that task is at the core of what we do. Train 110's story is about a partnership of companies. It's about the service and operating plan which moves one carload of particle board from Oregon to Ohio. It's about the people whose hands-on effort make that 2,300-mile journey possible. The people whose dedication is the heart of service by design. This is where it begins, a factory in Springfield, Oregon. Here, tons of particle board are being manufactured at the Weyerhaeuser plant, just east of Eugene. Located in the heart of the Northwest, this plant manufactures a product that is used in many ways. We see it every day in furniture, countertops, even stereo systems. Particle board is made from sawdust and wood chips, resin and wax. It is shaped, pressed, and cut to the exact specifications of Weyerhaeuser's customers. Today, a shipment is being prepared for one of the biggest consumers of particle board in the country, Sauter Industries in Archbald, Ohio. They will use it to make ready-to-assemble furniture. 90 tons of board, 5 by 10 feet, 3/4 inch thick, custom made and custom shipped.
For our customers, consistency of delivery is very important. Their inventory is basically in that rail car. If they're up to 3 or 4 days late, it could cause them delays, cost them money, or close them down at the very worst. And that costs them customers, and no business can live without customers.
Weyerhaeuser is actually on the Southern Pacific Line, but the company goes to the trouble of loading their product on trucks to get it to BN. That's because BN is able to provide service that meets Weyerhaeuser's most important needs: good equipment, good transit time to the east, and consistent damage-free delivery. All of that at a more competitive price. Plus, BN offered something unique, a guarantee.
All the three parties, the marketing, transportation, operations, got together, and we came up with a scheduled transit time, a scheduled delivery time for their cars, and a damage-free environment. Putting it in paper, putting a monetary penalty, which is what Weyerhaeuser required, that they could go to their customer as a partnership and say, here, we can market this, we can give this to you, let's do business.
That guarantee of on-time delivery is vital. It means consistent service, and Weyerhaeuser's customer is depending on it.
We have to know within just a few hours in some cases when the cars are going to be arrived. Otherwise, we would wind up with a mill having to be shut down for several hours or maybe even a day or more because the cars have not shown up.
It takes 4 truckloads to fill a rail car. The trucks are then driven to a reload center several miles away in Eugene. Here at Northwest Reload, the board is carefully placed on a double bulkhead flat car. Because particle board is so heavy, it can only be stacked about 7 feet high. The car is weighed and covered with huge plastic tarps.
It may sound strange the way we handle it, by having a truck and a reload and then handling by rail car to the other end, but we offered something that our competitive railroad could not do. we offered the equipment, and we offered the guarantee. So when we come up with ideas, or Weyerhaeuser comes up with ideas, we talk about them. Whether we can implement them or not, we try.
The car is loaded and ready to go. The BN switch crew has arrived. Car TTPX 81716. It's now on the way. This early part of the trip is important. The car must travel 360 miles just to reach the classification yard at Pasco, Washington. That's where eastbound transcontinental trains like 110 are built. To get to Pasco, the shipment will depend on the efforts of the switchmen and yardmasters to help move the car and keep it on schedule. For the BN service plan to work properly, the efficient movement of cars from the customer to the classification yard is critical. The Weyerhaeuser car will need 2 local trains to get it to Pasco. If it misses a connection, it will also miss its scheduled Tuesday departure and have to wait another day before leaving. That would be a serious 24-hour delay in arriving for the Conrail connection in Chicago. But so far, our car is off to a good start. The physical movement of the car is only part of the story. As the car makes its way to Pasco, there are other things that have to be done. Accounting and tracing work to make sure Weyerhaeuser's load doesn't get lost among the thousands of cars that are moving throughout the BN system. Here at the Vancouver office, the billing for the car is coming in. Weyerhaeuser is billed electronically, or EDI. That stands for Electronic Data Interchange. It means Weyerhaeuser transfers the billing for the car directly from their computer to BN's. It's a paperless system, but copies of the billing can also be printed out. This billing system is just one of many important parts of the service plan for Train 110, and it's all designed with a goal in mind.
Our goal with Weyerhaeuser is to provide them the same service day in and day out so that they can schedule the commodity or the lumber at destination. They aren't interested in expeditious service particularly, but they're interested in consistent time service where they know that their car will move on Tuesday and it'll arrive on Friday or whatever day we tell them it'll arrive.
The weekend has passed and it is late Monday afternoon. Weyerhaeuser's car has made it to the Pasco terminal. This is another important part of the journey, the classification yard.
Classifying is, to use the analogy of taking a deck of cards and shuffling it up and then bringing that deck of cards to Pasco and sorting out the spades, the clubs, the hearts, and so on.
This is where all the cars for Train 110 are organized into blocks according to their destination. If the car isn't put in the proper block for the right train, it can be delayed for days, and the effort to get it to Pasco on time is wasted.
My schedule isn't effective if it doesn't plug in to the region and the division and the railroad in general. So I can move a car from Eugene or Albany, Oregon to Vancouver and to Pasco in record time, consistently to the minute, day in, day out. And if my schedule doesn't mesh with what Pasco has to do with their trains, then I'm just wasting the company's time and money.
Keeping track of all these cars is an extremely complex task. That's why Pasco Terminal is so vital to our operation. It's BN's only major hump yard on the West Coast. Some call it the hub of the West. The Weyerhaeuser car is placed in a block of cars making Conrail connections in Chicago. Tomorrow morning, the blocks of cars for Train 110 will be pulled together and taken to the departure yard. Scheduled departure time, 10 a.m.
Oh, Pasco?
Yes, sir.
All right, what time do they figure that 110 is going to be ready to go?
It is Tuesday morning, and there are special problems at the Seattle Regional Dispatch Office. A derailment in McCready, 80 miles west of Pasco. It happened last night, but it's still jamming up traffic. For the dispatcher, the pressures are enormous. He is responsible for 125 miles of track, and he coordinates all the train traffic and maintenance activity out there. This morning, he has to deal with the derailment, and it's had an impact on Train 110.
The hardest part is a lot of times is you have things that happen like derailments. You have things that happen like maybe you have a broken rail and the train gets delayed for, an hour. And consequently, because of that, they start falling down and losing time. But it's important to try and keep these kind of trains on the schedule so that we can meet our commitments to the customer.
Meantime, in Pasco, the train and crew calls are being made. The derailment is also forcing the people here to make last-minute changes. The engines scheduled to be used on 110 are on a train stuck behind the derailment, far from Pasco. New power must be found.
You got permission to occupy the main track, Ainsworth Junction, of Villard Junction. I'll get you permission on the bridge.
Permission to go, all right, thank you.
It's a hectic morning for operator Gary Wallace. He is one of many people coordinating the effort to find new power and get 110 rolling. They have to work quickly to solve the problems that are threatening the trip with a late departure.
Yeah, no, but every train that comes in and out of this yard's got to talk to me. Every train that comes in and out of the roundhouse has got to talk to me. I got to coordinate with the dispatcher as far as moving these trains, because he's got 8 or 10 coming in and I got 8 or 10 leaving, and we got to keep them rolling. Because when they're moving, we're making money. When they're not, we're not.
The substitute power arrives. 3 locomotives. The lead unit will be 7151. Train 110 may get out of the yard on time after all.
Can we do a warrant here, too?
Yeah, I got it ready.
Okay, we got a call on a first, 110 of the 6th.
The conductor is McHenry, M-C-H-E-N-R-Y, and 2.
Engineer is Schoenberger, S-C-H-O-E-N-B-E-R-G-E-R, no firemen. They're all on duty to 0845, 0845, 3 units.
Okay, here's a track warrant.
Ready to copy, RN.
That track warrant is the authorization for Train 110 to be on the main line. The Seattle dispatcher and Pasco operator have been able to solve the problems affecting the train. It's time for 110 to depart. Train 110 is on its way. In spite of the problems caused by the derailment, in spite of having to substitute power, 110 departs the Pasco yard right on time. That's good news. There are always unforeseen obstacles as a train makes its way across the country. And if a train leaves late, that puts pressure on everyone else down the line. As 110 passes through the Washington countryside, no one knows what this journey will bring. Will there be long delays? Will the train make it to Chicago on time? Over the next 2,000 miles, Train 110 will travel halfway across the United States, over the Continental Divide, and through the Northern Plains. Based on the service plan for this particular car, the scheduled delivery time to Conrail is Friday morning at 4:15. In order to make it, 110 has to get to Chicago in 66 hours. The train has been moving for less than an hour. But 110 isn't making track speed. It left Pasco with less power than would normally be used for this tonnage. More power will have to be added later. In spite of the slower speed, there is a signal that all is well, as 110 goes past a failed equipment detector.
BN detector, Mesa, temperature 78 degrees. Axle count 308. No defect. Repeat, no defect.
But it isn't long until 110 is forced to stop. Up ahead, a maintenance crew is fixing the rail where a weld went bad. It will take some time to repair. So 110 waits.
So that's what the delay there is, over.
Yeah, okay, do you have any idea how long it's going to be?
It's the type of situation that can create problems for a dispatcher.
The most stressful part about this job is when you're dealing with these track people, like these guys that I've been given permits out to. If I don't do it right and I make a mistake, then literally what can happen is I can run a train in on top of a guy that's out there on a motor car or a guy that's on a high rail truck and get him hit. And most of the people that have gotten in trouble on these jobs, that's what's happened. And so it's a matter of you've got to be thinking all the time.
After 50 minutes, the crew has 110 rolling again, not knowing that even farther up the line, there's more track work being done. Just outside Spokane, a surfacing crew is doing work on a bridge. Some old ties have been replaced. Now the crew is adjusting irregularities in the rail and smoothing the ballast. This is critical work for the railroad. Well-maintained track is an important requirement for moving trains safely and on time. There is an urgency to this work. The crew is always aware that it's only a matter of time before 110 or another through freight will be coming down the line.
Well, we know that, when we get out here, we only have a certain amount of time to get done what we have to do, and we have to plan our work accordingly.
There is still some major work to be done, and the clock is ticking. 110 is on the way. As the train moves closer to Spokane, the scenery is starting to change. The farmland is giving way to pine trees and hills. Soon there is another delay. The engineer pulls into a siding while a westbound freight passes by. The crew calls it waiting in the hole. There's only one main line, and someone has to pull over. This is nothing new for the train crew. There are many things that can delay a train.
Once you leave the yard, the fireman inspects your train. After that, it's all up to God. I mean, anything that happens, happens. And then that's why we're here, is to take care of it.
110 is almost to Spokane. Just ahead, the bridge where the surfacing crew has just finished working. Approaching Spokane, the first leg of 110's journey is nearly over. Weyerhaeuser's car is another step closer to Chicago. So far, there have only been 2 delays, a total of 55 minutes. But since the train hasn't been making track speed, it's now almost 2 hours behind schedule. And there are more than 1,800 miles to go. Yardley Station in Spokane is a crew change point for 110. Normally, no maintenance or switching is done here. It's supposed to be a 5-minute stop. But today is different. There's a bad order on the train, a defective car, so it will be removed. In spite of the delay, there is good news for the next crew. More power will be added. One more unit to help keep the train at track speed and to take it over the rugged terrain of the Rocky Mountains. The unscheduled switching at Yardley took an extra 40 minutes. 110 is leaving Spokane 2.5 hours late. But now it has more power. The crew is hoping to make up some time. As 110 starts the second leg of this long journey, it is being carefully watched from 1,000 miles away. Northwest of Minneapolis, in St. Cloud, sits one of the most beautiful old depots in the BN system. But it now houses one of the system's most high-tech facilities. This is the home of the National TrackSmart Center, which is keeping a constant eye on Weyerhaeuser's car. Here at the center, computers track rail cars from the shipper to the delivery point. With thousands of cars moving through the system, TrackSmart allows BN and the customer to know exactly where a specific car is at any given time.
Today with TrackSmart, when a car goes bad order or a car is involved in a derailment, the design of the system is to notify the customer when it happens, or as soon after it happens as possible. In the past, that was not possible with our other systems. That's the biggest benefit that the customer can get. It takes the worry out of moving their cars across the BN.
The TrackSmart system is automatic. If a car is delayed for some reason, the computer immediately notifies the customer.
And BN is very responsive. They call us when a situation like that occurs, and they let us know when the car is pulled out of that situation and it's on its way again.
By early evening, 110 goes through one of the most scenic spots on the trip, the beautiful clear waters of Lake Ponterey in Sandpoint, Idaho. 110 has had a few more problems between here and Spokane, so the train goes through Sandpoint and heads across northern Idaho, even further behind schedule. Hopefully, the night will bring a smooth trip and few delays. The train has lost another 20 minutes, and too many delays early in the trip can throw the train way off schedule. Up the line, more obstacles, including one stop alone where 110 sits in a siding for nearly an hour. They're only 37 miles past Sandpoint, and now the train is 4 hours behind schedule. 110 finally leaves Idaho behind. It's been 5 hours since the train left Spokane, and only now crossed the Montana border. Already it's been a long night. It's the middle of the night in Whitefish, Montana. While the rest of the town sleeps, BN train crews are just now coming to work.
We got 5 in there.
But it isn't just the train crews who work while others sleep. Railroading is a round-the-clock operation. So for these people at Whitefish Station, the midnight shift is just as busy as the day shift. Earlier, it looked as if 110 would arrive before midnight. But now it's a different story. As Ernie puts it, he fell down, encountered many delays.
The possibility of something going wrong, it's a good possibility for something like that to happen, for a problem to occur, because you're dealing with people and machinery and Mother Nature.
The train has other problems tonight, but at least there is no bad weather to delay the cargo.
I don't think there's any place else on the BN system that has this kind of weather. It gets 30, 40 below, you get bad winds. We work in some pretty adverse conditions, but we still are able to move the stuff, you know, with pretty fair safety record, in my opinion.
Tonight, it wasn't the weather that caused extra problems, but a tunnel outside of Whitefish. It filled with toxic gas from diesel engines and had to be flushed out. So 4 hours and 18 minutes late, train 110 finally pulls into Whitefish Station. It's been a long trip for the crew, but for Steve Parsons and engineer Wes Church, the day is just beginning. It will be up to them to try to make up some time. The stop is brief, only a few short minutes, and 110 heads off into the night, across northwestern Montana. By Wednesday morning, the mountains of Glacier Park are merely a shadow in the background. The train is into the farmland of north-central Montana. The crew has made up an hour and 40 minutes. 110 is speeding toward Havre. The effort to get 110 back on schedule grows more intense. Delays are a fact of life on the railroad, but Weyerhaeuser is still counting on BN to get their car to Chicago on time, no matter what the problem.
Customers don't want to hear about the Burlington Northern's problems, no. They're not interested. It's 45 below zero in Minot, North Dakota, and we can't move the trains at more than 50 miles an hour. But they are also realists. They also know that we will have problems. They want to know that this problem isn't going to happen time again, time again. So what we've done is basically said, okay, we'll react to the problem, we'll correct it.
Havre, Montana is one of the most important stops for 110. This is where the engines are refueled and the train gets a 1,000-mile checkup. It is a big operation. Haver refuels so many engines. The diesel shop goes through an average of 3 million gallons of fuel every month.
If you have a water leak on the locomotive or oil leaks, which would be FRA, we'd have to cut them off. Using your running gear, your brake shoes, brake rigging, all has to be okay before they can leave Haver.
110 arrived here 2 hours and 40 minutes behind schedule, and there's a lot of work to be done. Haver maintenance crews know they have to work quickly to help get 110 back on schedule. The power is taken off the train for maintenance by the diesel shop. The train is blue flagged, so the carmen can do an inspection. They ride ATVs along the train to spot trouble. Weyerhaeuser's car is in good shape, but the tarp needs to be adjusted and tucked back in. And while this car is long gone from the Springfield plant, it is not forgotten.
I think about them sort of as my cars, especially the ones that I have involved in the lease program. And I very much wonder where they are and how they're doing, and whether they're making it through Haver or Shelby or Minneapolis quickly and on time.
After all the maintenance is completed, 110 is given the okay to go on. All of this took only an hour and a half. 110 leaves Haver without losing any more time. As it heads east, the train passes through more farmland. This is an opportunity to pick up some more time. 110 moves through the countryside and small towns at a maximum track speed of 60 miles per hour. Train 110 is now under the control of the Regional Dispatch Office at the Northtown Terminal in Minneapolis. For the next 24 hours, its movement will be coordinated from here, under a very watchful eye. Less than an hour after departing Haver, 110's crew slows down twice because of track maintenance. At times like this, the effort to get Weyerhaeuser's car to Chicago seems to be making slow progress. The particle board is less than halfway there. Chicago seems very far away. At the same time, there is more track work being done much farther down the line. This is no ordinary tie gang. It's the first of its kind, a QRE gang, which stands for Quick Removal Equipment. It's been in operation for only a year. Also known as a mini tie gang, this crew has a special ability that helps speed up transportation service for BN's customers. A regular tie gang needs as much as a half hour to clear the track. That can hold up trains. But the mini tie gang can actually lift the equipment on and off the track right here at the repair site. It means schedules will work better, and BN can keep its promises to the customer.
I'm not out here all by myself. We have lots of folks that work with us. And because we can go to a company like Weyerhaeuser or Springfield and say, this is what we can offer. We've got 30,000 people behind us. That's good.
Back in Montana, 110 is in the hole again, waiting for 3 westbound trains, including an Amtrak, which races by at 80 miles per hour. Passenger trains have a high priority. As the sun sets over eastern Montana, 110 is heading for the Dakota Division. The crew has made up more than an hour. Some of that will be lost in Williston when the train loses air because of a parted air hose. But the trip across North Dakota will be smooth, with no other delays.
We know working on the Dakota Division that a train such as 110, which may originate or which originates out on the West Coast, it's very important that when he gets to the Dakota Division at Williston, North Dakota, we know whether he's on time or we know whether he's ahead of time, and we do everything we possibly can to hustle him across the division to get him off off of our division on time because it's very important that he make it to the customers in Chicago.
"110 makes it through Fargo early Thursday morning. It's been a good night. Since passing through Minot, the train has made up another hour and a half of time. This leg of the trip brought no delays. Thursday brings smooth sailing. 110 cruises through central Minnesota, making up more lost time. That's good news, because there is a major stop ahead.
137 downtown.
At the Northtown terminal, the dispatcher is keeping a close eye on 110 as it heads toward Minneapolis. It's his job to bring the train into the gigantic yard here. This is where 110 will undergo some major changes. The cars bound for Northtown will be removed, and additional Chicago-bound cars will be added for the last 400 miles of 110's journey. The train will also get another 1,000-mile inspection. The scheduled stop here is for 3 hours, and Train 110 requires more attention than some other trains.
Trains do have personality of their own. For example, Train 110 arriving has a personality of you have to stay with that train continually to work it through the different segments of the yard, the different yards, and to get the proper cars on it that we need to. It's something that you have to stay with all the time.
If all goes well, the people here may be able to shave an hour off 110's trip. After it arrives in the yard, a block of 57 cars on the back of 110 is taken off the train. They're going to other destinations. The remaining 15 cars, including warehouses, are taken up to be blocked with other cars, making Conrail connections in Chicago. In addition to switching the freight cars, 110's original power is replaced, and the crew will be changed. In its new form, 110 pulls out of Northtown after only 2 hours. It's actually departing ahead of schedule, 6 minutes early, for the first time since leaving Pasco. Back at the National TrackSmart Center, computers are providing up-to-the-minute information on the progress of Weyerhaeuser's car. Right now, it shows the car has departed Northtown. While TrackSmart has been checking on 110, the train has made good progress. 110 is on the home stretch. The night will bring a few delays, waiting for westbound trains. But the race to get Weyerhaeuser's car to Chicago is almost over. Friday, 4:35 a.m. Train 110 pulls into the Cicero yard near Chicago. It has been a complicated trip with a number of delays. The train has traveled an enormous distance. Yet this is a feat that BN people accomplish many times over every single day. Weyerhaeuser's car has passed through many hands across the BN system. Yet 110 gets this car to the Cicero yard within 30 minutes of its scheduled arrival time.
110 leaves, this particular train left Pasco at approximately 10 a.m. on June the 6th. It arrived in Chicago at approximately 4:35 the morning of the 9th. And over a 2,000-mile period or distance, that's pretty good train handling.
The Conrail crew is waiting. The Northtown power is removed from 110, and the Conrail power brought on. The service plan for Weyerhaeuser's car worked, and the shipment is on its way to Elkhart, and soon, its customer in Ohio. This is only one car among thousands that move through the BN system every day. And 110 is among hundreds of trains. At the heart of this complex operation is the service and operating plan for each and every car. It must be designed to provide the customers with the quality service they expect. But a car plan and a train schedule mean nothing without the most important factor of all. The real heart of service by design is the dedicated people of BN.